I'm Mehmet Soydan. The name of our research is Evaluation of Education Types Utilizing Mcdm Methods. Even if university education history can be gone until Plato's academy, the first university of the world is considered as Bologna University, which was established in 1088. Until 20th century, university education had been made in classroom with communication, face-to-face communication of students and academicians. However, there were some obstacles in front of to reach university education, such as geographical capacity, high cost for students, massive working hours for worker, employee, students, physical inhibition or parental pressure for girls. In addition to these written problems, there can be some extraordinary situations, such as Spanish flu in the middle of 19th and 10th. Because of this flu, universities were closed and stopped the education. Another example is from during World War II. Jewish academicians in Germany had to leave their country during World War II and before the World War II. Also, the last and the closest example is COVID-19 pandemic terms. In order to eliminate the problems that I mentioned and continue in extraordinary conditions to education, some education types were proposed, such as open, distance, hybrid, blended, and etc. And we compared traditional face-to-face education, synchronous distance education, and blended education. Because during COVID-19 pandemic, students, academicians, and university management stakeholders got an experience about these education types. And also we used three stakeholders, as I said before, students, academicians, and university management. These proposed education types have advantage in terms of accommodation costs, recorded classes, comfort zone, commute cost, or environmental impact, etc. Even though these types eliminate the obstacles, they can bring some new problems, such as lack of communication, lack of motivation, unfair student evaluation, or decreasing in perceived diploma quality, the internet accessibility, the technological cost, or the use of required technology. In the beginning of our research, we made a literature review. In the literature, we found some research related with our study. One of them is a study of Olaclane and Panda. They discussed traditional and distance education in terms of student individual expenditures. And absolutely, they found distance education is better than the other one. And the second one is Oliveira's and his friends study. They found distance education is 90% more environmental friendly than face-to-face education. And Al-Kaitani and Rashka, they found blended education better than distance education, ICT supported education, flipped classroom. And Tepe evaluated face-to-face education, distance education, and hybrid education from students' perspective. And it was used HP, TAPSIS, and Ilker methods. And the last one, Griffith, they found no difference between traditional classroom and distance education in terms of success of students. And about our methodology, we chose attendees from university departments that required no lab work, and 21 students, 16 academicians, and 5 university managers attended our survey to determine the final set of criteria. Before that, we got possible criteria from literature. And according to their opinions, we got the final set of criteria, and 11 criteria for students, 12 for academician, and 5 for university management stakeholder. And we grouped them under factors. We created 4 factors for students, 5 factors for academician stakeholder, and we used no factor for university management because it has only 5 criteria. And in order to prioritize the criteria, we prepared another survey and asked the stakeholders their relationship among criteria. They compare criteria with other criteria that belong to the same factor, and they compared factors with other factors in their criteria, in terms of their criteria. And the last survey is created to rank the alternatives, equality and equal methods. We ask again the same stakeholder, and they respond to questions. They gave score to education types in terms of criteria. And we can see students' factors and criteria importances of students. The most important factor is educational factor for students. And educational factor is consists of motivation, perception of being assessed fairly, ease of understanding, diploma quality perception, and comfort zone. The second most important factor is cost factor. It consists of accommodation and technological cost criteria. Third one is communication factor. It consists of student-academician communication and student-student communication. And the last one is technological factor. It has 18% importance level, and it consists of the internet accessibility and the use of required technology. When we look at the criteria importances of students, the most important criterion is accommodation cost with 19%. The second one is student-academician communication with 12%, and technological cost and then internet accessibility criteria have 11%. Motivation, perception of being assessed fairly, student-student communication have 8% importance level. The use of required technology and ease of understanding have 7% importance level. Diploma quality perception has 6%, and comfort zone has 3% importance level. For academician stakeholder, the most important factor is educational factor, as in student stakeholder, and it consists of peer evaluation of students, motivation, the total time spent for class, learning environment, and comfort zone. The second most important most important factor is communication factor. It has 26% importance level, and it consists of academician-student communication and academician communication. Technological factor has 18% importance, and it has the use of required technology and the internet accessibility criteria. Environmental factor has 13% importance level, and it has only one criterion, and it's environmental impact. The last one is cost factor. It has 11%, and it consists of technological cost and commute cost. And when we look at the criteria, the most important criterion is academician-student communication with 18%. Environmental impact has 13%, peer evaluation has 12%, the use of required technology has 10%, motivation and technological cost has 9%, academician communication has 8%, the internet accessibility 7%, the total time spent for class 6. And learning environment has 4% importance level. As a last two, commute cost and comfort zone criteria have 2% importance level. For the third stakeholder, which is university management, the most important criterion is fair evaluation of students with 39%. Second one is access to more students with 25%. Environmental impact and technological cost have 13% importance level, and operational cost has 10% importance level. For assessment of education types. For students, traditional face-to-face education has better scores in diploma quality perception, student-student communication, student-academician communication, motivation, perception of being assessed fairly, the internet accessibility, the use of required technology, ease of understanding, and technological cost criteria. On the other hand, synchronous distance education has better score in comfort zone and accommodation cost criteria. For academician stakeholder, academician communication, motivation, academician student communication, fair evaluation of student, the internet accessibility, learning environment, technological cost, and the use of required technology are the criteria that traditional face-to-face education has better score. Synchronous distance education has better score in comfort zone, the total time spent for class, commute cost, and environmental impact. For university management, fair evaluation of students and technological cost are the criteria that traditional face-to-face education has the best scores. However, traditional face-to-face education has the lowest score in access to more students, environmental impact, and operational cost criteria. By the way, blended education got scores between traditional face-to-face education and synchronous distance education in all of criteria. As a conclusion, we used one method to prioritize the criteria and two methods to rank the alternatives, and we had 3 stakeholders, so we had 6 different scenarios. And traditional face-to-face education was found as the best in all scenarios. And further suggestion, we could have added different stakeholders to the study, such as administrative staff. However, we used looked from on the education perspective, so we didn't add this stakeholder. And also, importance of stakeholders can be calculated in the next suggestions. If it's done, it can be only one result instead of 3 results for each scenarios, because we have result for each scenarios and for each stakeholder. And thank you for all of you to listen to me. If you have a question, I will be appreciate to respond to them.
Thank you, Mehmet. Any question? Mehmet, did you use AHP or ANP? I missed that point. I guess AHP.
We used AHP.
Yeah, maybe actually, congratulations. I really enjoyed this talk because especially during this COVID terms, we all had to use actually online education processes. So I think the most important slide was the one before the conclusion part. You had this bar charts. I couldn't get all the important details, but this is the most important one, I guess. Really important topic. And at the end, we all got that point that face-to-face education is always the best, I guess. So thank you so much. I think there is no question except mine. So I will move to the last talk of this session.
Thank you.